already. I'm sorry. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I guess we should start by introducing ourselves, and I'll start. For those that don't know me, I'm J.J. Dixon. I'm a staff representative with the Florida State Lodge Fraternal Order of Police Labor Council, and so I am one of the chief negotiators for the Labor Council. David?
Good afternoon, David Cohill, past Lodge President, Lodge 17, and I serve as the chairman of the Florida State Labor Council.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Scott O'Connell, current president, Lodge 17, Fraternal Order Police.
Mark Leone, I'm also a labor representative with the Florida State Fraternal Order Police. Like JJ, all the representatives from Fraternal Order Police are retired law enforcement and with a background in labor relations.
Hello everyone, Keith Brown, current lodge trustee for the state lodge trustee.
Hi everyone, I'm David Miggett. I'm the city's in-house attorney. I do have a conflict. I am going to be stepping out, but I did want to come down here briefly to say hello and introduce myself to each of you.
Who's the conflict with? Is it me? Oh, it's time. Okay, sorry.
Elise Bursch, legal assistant. Hi, Meg Zabiaka. I'm outside counsel for the city of Jacksonville. I'm with the law firm of Constantia Brooks Smith and Profit. And I've worked with JJ before in other forums. I look forward to working with each of you.
Meg, it's nice that I finally learned how to pronounce your last name.
There you go.
I'm Karen Nelson. I'm the deputy city manager.
Mike Stepopoulos, city manager.
Ashley Gossett, CFO.
All right, thank you. Did you want to start, Karen, or do you want us to start?
If you would like to, I'm happy to yield the floor.
All right. For those that don't know, Scott O'Connell's the new president of the lodge, and so he's going to be doing a lot of talking today. But I will also be guiding us along. So we have packets here. If you want to take these packets, if not, we could do them one at a time. But if you want to just
why don't we do one at a time, if that's okay?
okay. All right. So there are a few things that we are not looking to touch, and those things in the contract are preamble and then articles 1 through 4. And I'm not going to name what they are because we're not really doing anything with them. But the first one that we are interested in making a slight change to would be article number 5, title union business. And I'm happy to be quiet if you want to explain it or if you want me to go through it. I'll be happy.
Sure, I'll
Okay.
So David Cohill is passing out some packets with the language changes. Initially, there's just one strike to the paragraph with some language that is except as provided in section 5.6 below and without pay. And then there's an inclusion of 5.7 bullet point, which would create a bank of hours of 150 hours for FOP business per calendar year, created as a union pool time. In the past, a request of 360 hours was made. This is a lot less than previous requests. There's some caveats to this that protect the city. The hours would have to be approved by the lodge president, and then beyond that, it would have to come with approval of the chief of police as well. So this would be for strictly FOP business on labor council meetings and other meetings that are pertinent to our growth and development as members of this collective bargaining union. So this is the language that we have proposed for changes to Article 5. And if there's any questions regarding the language this time, we can discuss those now.
If I could piggyback off of what he's saying, I just want to put it out there that this is not unusual for Northeast Florida. Mark's from South Florida, and they do the same thing. I know that Jacksonville is a much larger agency. They dedicate 9,000 hours for this. And so, like I said, much larger agency, so that is to be expected. But with the thought in mind that a lot of the meetings and conferences that the state FOP would hold they do offer a lot of training in areas, not just, you know, how to run the lodge and, you know, those types of things, but they offer a lot of police-related training as well. Things that go as far as firearms training and those kinds of things. So I just wanted to make sure that, that you all understood that these are not just meetings where we'll be sitting around talking about FOP business, but in a lot of situations, the members, your officers are given training and things of that nature as well. 150 hours is probably the lowest that I think I've ever seen. And I'm not saying that to say that that's a bad thing. I'm saying that to say that I believe that they really took into consideration that this would be like a milestone for the city, and understand that it's going to take some, you know, some building up to get to where they really probably need to be, but that this would be a small but good start.
Any questions or clarification? Okay.
All right, so that's 5. I'll move on to the next one.
Yeah, 6 through 10, clear those.
Yep, 6 through 10, we're not making any changes to those. And again, I won't call them off. Those are dues, deductions, and things like that. But 6 through 10, we're good with. And then 11, Dave, do you have the documents for 11?
Yes, sorry.
Gotta get used to this.
I'm used to my new role. Well, I think Scott has a question first.
Yeah, is the city going to make changes with respect to the FOP regarding the city handbook with respect to sick leave and overtime per the current standards?
I'm sorry, can you ask that question again?
So the
Sure, I
current city
understand.
handbook regarding use of sick leave,
Mhm.
as it reflects for city employees citywide, is the city proposing any changes to police members at this time?
Not at this time.
Okay, all right, okay, then we will introduce a language change for Article 11. Okay, so you have Article 11 in front of you. There is some language that would include not classified as a qualifying mental health. And the extension of this article will pick up on Article 21 as well. I don't want to go too much into detail with this article, as it'll answer more questions with Article 21. So we'll just kind of circle back with more dialogue regarding that.
Okay.
So we're gonna push 11 to the side. Back to it, okay. And then there's no changes, well, there will be changes to 12 soon, that's wages, but we'll come back to that.
Yes.
And so that brings us to the next one, which is 13, education incentive. And we already addressed this in an MOU previously, and so we just kind of wanted to slide in the contract to memorialize it.
Are there any changes from the MOU to this language?
Cut and paste.
Yeah, no.
Cut and paste?
Sorry, copy.
Okay.
PDF.
Okay, so this would just be incorporating the already agreed upon MOU?
We didn't know which article. We figured education sounded the best, so, and that was a pretty
Police Academy?
sparse article anyway, so we wanted to make it, 13 was feeling underappreciated in the contract.
Okay.
So that's just going to be an addition of 13. 14 and 15, there are no changes. 16
Yes.
addresses resignation.
Article 16, resignation. The membership is asking to strike the words probation or from the final sentence of this article. The membership believes that the the language already with respect to disciplinary suspension is sufficient. There are times where an officer could be on disciplinary probation at the end of his or her career and face the loss of sick leave, buyout. And by removing this language, it still keeps a high standard if an employee is on disciplinary suspension, but it would remove an employee from losing that benefit to resign if he had temporarily been on a disciplinary probation. So at this time, we're asking to strike the language probation or.
Are you aware of any recent disciplinary probations? Just,
The
David?
two most recent that come to mind are two sergeants that in many, many years prior had in an internal investigation the prior chief's write-up, and that did include the open-ended statement of if you ever do this again or if this behavior ever exists. And what we are looking to protect is to prevent language from that. Let's be honest, everybody in some sense at some point is on some sort of probation through the escalating discipline process. We wouldn't want an open-ended statement like that to prevent an employee from retiring in good standing, which is what that article speaks to, thereby negating any sort of end-of-career payouts for accrued time. That's I know this is kind of deja vu and Groundhog Day, but this is just really looking to more of a forward-thinking protection rather than something that has necessarily happened in the past. We wouldn't want, we've got a great city administration across from us. We have a great police administration down the street. We wouldn't want prior administrations that may not be so amicable to use that open-ended language against the members.
okay, I know we've had discussions before about defining good standing, so it's certainly something we can take a look at.
All right, 17, 18, 19, and 20, there are no changes. So that brings us to,
Yes, Article 21, sick leave. David Cohen is going to begin with some language changes that were proposed, and then I'll come back to touch on Article 11 that I mentioned briefly.
So the first two things I want to talk about really address two issues. One, protecting the city, and that's we understand that those accrued time balances present a significant outlay of cash at the end of an employee's career. I know that we addressed that in the last contract, whittling down the number of hours, the maximum number of hours that an employee could accrue, as well as the ever-increasing costs of healthcare, which you guys are probably more aware of it than even we are. But for our retirees, so one of the products, programs, tax loopholes, call it what you will, is using the Section 115 or the Retirement Healthcare Funding Plan. And through that plan, think of it as a 457 that is funded by essentially conversion of employee accrued time into this plan. The benefit for the city is it is a pre-tax. So any sort of the employer required contributions, 7.65% covering the Social Security, Medicare, you guys are saving that money. The pension dollar, you guys are saving that money because you guys are paying about 2 times the employee contribution to pay into the employer's required for the pension fund. And so this is kind of twofold. In one section, we would like to look at, and the way that this is funded, and I know there's a lot of nuances to this. It was a sharp learning curve for me, so if you guys aren't familiar, we'd be happy to bring in both either the organization that we've been talking to and really learning from and would prefer to use for a myriad of reasons, or any literature that you guys would want. But one of the benefits of the plan is, number one, it provides an end-of-career sellback, and that's of all accrued time, as well as we would like to look at, instead of doing the 16-hour conversion to vacation time, allow the employee to convert up to 50 hours of their sick time payable into this plan. And again, it really benefits the city, and that you guys won't be eating those employer tax liability as well as any sort of pension liabilities. And it really benefits the employee because this is a fund, again, very similar to the 457, that allows for immediately upon qualified retirement to use toward healthcare premiums, healthcare costs, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a way for our members to really start that saving for their healthcare earlier on in their career, rather than finding out the day after they retire that their healthcare premiums are eating a huge chunk of their pension check.
So would the city have any responsibility for administration of that plan, or is that something that the employee or the FOP would manage?
So there's several options to this. We could have structured it in Aviva, put a whole board. The city would have to deal with all that. Dustin would love me even more if we tried that. This plan is very similar to a 457, where there is a third-party company. Again, NPPFA is the provider that we've looked at, and they provide individual accounts, so almost identical to our Mission Square and our 457 plan. The employer would make the contributions into that fund, and then it is completely employee managed.
And you said NPPFA?
I believe that's the acronym. Really bad with letters, that's why I chose an occupation with name tags. I like numbers better. Again, we understand, and I know it's not like the team over here to bring anything open-ended, the to be written, but we understand that this is a new area for the city, something that I couldn't find ever being offered. It's not something that is a huge product that's known up here in Northeast Florida, but again, through our conversations with that provider, we do feel as though it is a great benefit to the employees as well as the employer, for all the reasons I've listed.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, and then that same article going 2110B currently defines use of sick leave in respect to catastrophic illnesses, and there's a very specific definition and criteria for that. It's going to revisit some sick leave requests that the union has made in the past. The collective agreement from our membership is the ability to use sick leave and not lose overtime pay within that same pay period. Discussions have happened, and it's been revisited by the membership as a whole, and I bring forth those now to request to change the language of catastrophic illness to be defined as any life event that would qualify the employee for FMLA. And to go beyond that, 2110F, we'd ask that the maximum payable to any one employee for catastrophic illness from employee donations be 280 hours opposed to 240. And then this will feed back in a further discussion regarding sick leave donation, but I'll touch on that again later. But we would like to change the definition to allow for sick leave to be used for any qualifying FMLA event. Still be held to the same standard that the employee had to be employed for at least 1 year. And the reasoning behind the increase from 240 to 280 was personal responsibility in that individual employee to carry a balance of 200 hours of their current sick leave. And then the additional 280 could be through sick leave donations for this qualifying event. As you know, other city governments and other police departments and even the state government allow employees to use maternal and paternal leave, and they have banks of 7 weeks, 6 weeks, and even 2 weeks for paternal leave. Our city government doesn't employ that here. What we're asking is allow us as our membership to take care of each other, to not create a burden on the city to put forth this cost, but allow us to donate hours of sick leave for folks going through FMLA events. Specifically, recently it's been pregnancies. So you have several officers and their wives who have had babies and not have enough sick leave on their books. And it wasn't from personal misuse of sick time, but it was just not having those hours available. So we were asking in a later article, I wanted to bring it up now, is to allow us to donate hours that we have earned to these in-need employees to assist them with their leave so they don't lose their time. We are not going to ask for the city to create a maternal or paternal sick leave at this time. Those criteria are specific to those city governments, but we're going to ask that you allow us to have the ability to help each other with that.
So to be clear, we currently are offering, allowing it up to 240 hours, so you're proposing to increase that to 280,
Yes, so that,
correct?
yes, ma'am.
And then we would be changing the definition of catastrophic illness to any FMLA event,
Yes,
which would include
pregnancy.
paternity, maternity.
Yes, sorry.
Okay. Is that clear?
And then additionally, 2111, we are asking to include some language, and I'll read the verbiage. It's mental wellness, sick time usage. The purpose of this provision is to promote the well-being and mental health of all police officers by providing dedicated time off for mental health needs. Each employee is entitled up to 36 hours per calendar year of sick time to be taken as mental health days. Mental health days may be taken in increments of no less than 1 hour. Employees are required to provide notice to their immediate supervisor at least 24 hours in advance when planning to use a mental health day, unless it is an emergency. Some history behind this. The average police officer in their career will experience over 180 critical incidents. These could be as extreme as an officer-involved shooting or holding a dead child in your arms. We have all experienced many critical incidents within our own department here, and it would benefit the officer to be to use time wisely with respect to returning to work. There are several other incidents that we can describe. I'm seeing bad car wrecks, things that create stress in an officer's life, and this would allow the officer to use a city-funded day to get yourself together before returning to work. And then we'd ask that this not impact an overtime within the same pay period. So if the argument is to not allow for sick leave to benefit an officer to keep their overtime, we ask that in exchange of that argument, when we have a critical incident approved by the chief of police for Mental Health Awareness Day, this would be a city-funded bank.
No, not city funded.
Not city.
City, it's just classifying the hours.
Yes.
So, to be clear, you're talking about 36 hours of the already allocated bank of sick leave,
So-
or 36 additional hours?
Let's go back to 11.4, it's the overtime. We noticed we struck the language, added the language for mental health day.
Right,
So essentially, this is allowing an employee to use or classify 36 hours of their own sick time as mental health, which would exempt it from that overtime.
got it.
The thought process being a lot of overtime is earned, unfortunately, around these critical incidences. And what we don't, and I know this has been, and I think Keith can echo this has been argued ad nauseum, but, and I believe Mr. Holzhauser had made the comment years ago that no employee should come to work sick. We agree with that. However, that sickness can sometimes be mental health, and without a 100% mental clarity, we don't want an officer coming to work, and we don't want them to, have to make that decision of overtime or going out. And this would kind of split the baby, if you will, that it'll allow those officers to take those necessary mental health days in the wake of some sort of critical incident without having to make that difficult choice of overtime versus, ultimately themselves and then the citizens. Just operating with a clear mind.
Okay. So, under Article 11, you're proposing that sick leave would still be excluded from the FLSA calculation of overtime, but mental health leave would not. And again, I'm going to just, to be crystal clear, you are not proposing an additional 36 hours, only an allocation of 36 of the already earned sick leave hours to be allocated to mental health. Okay. Okay.
Sorry, I wasn't clear on that.
No, that's good.
If the city were willing to correct the sick time versus overtime issue, that becomes me. But we would be open to that discussion as well.
Understood. Thanks.
anything else on that?
I'm good on that.
On that?
Okay, great. All right. You guys good? Thank you. All right, Article 22,
So in the 2022 contract, there was some language that was left off on an additional page. The practice that is described in the language has continued since 2022 to current day. It's bullet point 22.6 in regards double time and half for hours worked on the holiday. It was left off inadvertently, a scrivener's error in the last contract. We're not changing the language. We're asking to reintroduce that language back into the contract as past practice.
You saying 22.6 was left out?
Yes, whenever a observed holiday occurs on an employee's scheduled workday, and the employee works his or her schedule on the holiday, the employee shall be paid at double time and one half for all hours worked on the holiday. That practice has continued since the error was left off, and we're asking it just to be reintroduced. We found it was off. Asking it to be put back in.
And that we haven't had an interruption in practice.
No, I mean, we have continued that practice since then.
So essentially, they're getting the straight time holiday pay plus time and a half for the hours worked.
Correct.
Right, okay.
It was a lonely sub-article on its own page, and I just didn't think it just made it over in
Yeah.
22. 22 was a busy year, so.
It's a busy year.
okay. Just 1 second, I'm sorry. Okay. 23 is good.
Yes.
24, promotion.
So at one point in time, there was a open corporal position for almost a year, and we're seeking to add language to prevent this practice from happening again. The language reads, when a corporal or sergeant position becomes vacant, the police department shall fill the vacancy as follows. If a valid promotional list is active, the vacancy shall be filled within 15 calendar days. If no valid promotional list is active, the department shall fill the vacancy within 90 calendar days, and these timelines may be extended only by written agreement between the department and the union. We feel that 90 days is enough time to have that promotion process in place and make a decision to fill a void. And what we're seeking to do is to prevent having an open corporal position sit vacant for that long again.
And you said there was a vacant position recently for how long?
This is the warrants.
Yes, ma'am, it was December to November, December of 23 until November-ish of 24.
And was that driven by just the number of vacancies or?
I don't necessarily
Okay,
know what
don't know.
drove it. We're just looking for, because the city has historically said and taken a position that the max officer pay for Jacksonville Beach is significantly lower than surrounding cities, and that the corporal position allows that monetary bump. And we just want to make sure that that is still offered to the officers, and holding that vacant position for so long just really didn't allow for that opportunity for the eligible officers. And we just want to be able to make sure that that promotion is done for both the corporal and the sergeant positions within those time frames that Scott's proposed.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, so 24, we're good on that? No questions? No questions.
No. Yeah, we're good, thank you.
Okay, 25, 26, 27, and 28 remain the same. And that brings us to Article 29, retirement.
Our favorite article, usually the one that holds up the entire contract and makes it the package proposal. So a couple of changes that I'd like to discuss. The first one is in 29.3, it's eliminating the arbitrary that $100,000 cap. Caps and pensions are already capped by statute at 100%. And then Jax Beach has 3 sort of backstops behind that. The first one being the multiplier. I mean, you can only earn as many years as you work. Number 2, we cap it at 90%, which I don't particularly have an issue. None of the members really have an issue because that's a 30-year career and that's a heck of a career in law enforcement. The last one is that $100,000 cap. And we are proposing to eliminate that. That has fallen well behind, over $24,000 behind where it should be if you took the 90,000 cap and extrapolated, or I'm sorry, figured out all of the SSI and CPI on top of that. So it's creating a situation where we have employees that are essentially working for nothing. They're paying their employee contribution of the pension. They're at a phase in their career again where they're just not seeing the benefit, and that creates a really sticky situation where we're almost forcing out senior officers, senior administrators, merely for the fact that they're not only seeing 8 cents of their dollar that they earn go to nothing, but also that they've maxed out on everything. So it's just kind of, it's forcing out a lot of people that we've spent a lot of time, money, and energy over the years developing all of their talents, whether it be administrative or as an officer in a specialized unit. So that's why we're proposing the elimination of that fourth backstop that the city has of the sort of that fixed dollar amount on the cap.
Okay.
Next one is the backdrop. Right now, the city currently pays out 3% when any employee elects to take advantage of the backdrop and qualifies for it. We are proposing going up to 6%. For a number of reasons, 3% is less than you can even make in a savings account these days. The city is collecting 8% from the employee at the time that they're in the backdrop, as well as the city's assumed an actuarial rate of return is 7.5%. So we think that 6% is still less than the city has made, the fund has made during that same time period that the employee was in the drop. So the fund is still making out in the positive, but it's able to be far more equitable to the employee that elects the backdrop.
Okay.
Last one, it's 4 nasty letters, COLA. Not having a COLA is essentially telling the employee the day they retire that that dollar is fixed, the dollar that they've earned. So we had a longtime retiree pass in the past couple of years. He retired back in the 80s from Jacksonville Beach, and he passed recently. He retired on the $1998 dollar. Now, it's a great year for me. Graduated high school, met my future wife. But gas was 99 cents a gallon. I filled up my 96 Camaro up at the old Circle K on St. John's. It was a good year, but not great in 2020s and on if that's what your dollar is really fixed at. So, and I know we've gone, again, over this COLA. We revisited it years ago. We had the actuarial calculations run, and one of the conversations that came out of that, what we're proposing, is the sunset style COLA, where the retirement plan is kind of set up for the employees who retire at age 55. And then most of the Social Security, federal government style health care all kind of kick in. Let's just call it 65 for my easy math. I hope it's 65 when it comes around to me. But what we're proposing is a 10-year COLA from the date the employee retires, and then upon that 10th year, it will fix. Now, again, it's a 3% COLA, but it is unlike my last proposal, which was a wonderfully long and complex algebraic equation that factored in time, this, that, the other. We are fixing it more to dates in 5 years. So if you've been hired since October 1st, 2020 till now, it's 3%, and then a 0.5% reduction for every 5 years, clumps behind that. And what that will allow is, we understand this is a benefit. We understand that there are likely going to have to be conversations about funding this benefit and how it comes about. But we are also cognizant that the employee that may be retiring in 5 years hasn't fully funded, if you will, this enhancement and this benefit, and therefore should see a reduced benefit overall. So this 2913, we hope, is a conversation starter. to be able to address those issues with COLA, or lack of a COLA in the police officer pension plan.
And I'll just, again, piggyback off what Dave just said in terms of law enforcement and profession, especially in this area. When you have new, I'm speaking in terms of recruitment and retention, when you have new people looking to see where they want to start and finish their career, one of the things that they do look for is that retirement benefit, and whether or not there's a COLA attached to it, it makes a huge difference. So I just want to throw that in. Anything else on 29?
Annuitants and beneficiaries.
Yeah, they just sent that to us.
Question?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, 29 is done, so then that brings us to 30,
Yes.
which is the agreement. You want
I think I won't mess this one up. The membership is looking for a 3-year contract, and this agreement is just to change the language to reopen Article 12, wages prior to September 30th, 2027, for the year beginning October 1, 2027. And we'll go into a little bit more detail, provide wage scales here in a second. Solely just the language on the time frames.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. 31, wait a minute. Let me make sure I can see. No, there's no 31. Screen for screen. Okay, that's gonna bring us to Appendix D. Right? We'll skip to Appendix D.
Yeah, we'll cover wages last.
Which talks about classification pay plan.
Yep. Okay, so Appendix D, position classification and pay plan. We've created a Section E, special assignment, shift differential, and we're requesting employees shall receive shift differential incentive pay of 4% of their pay per hour worked for all hours working a contiguous shift lasting at least 10 hours if the shift begins between 1 p.m. and midnight.
So if it begins anytime between 1 p.m. and midnight,
It'll be
Work
paid.
at least 10 hours.
and they
yeah,
work
last
10
10
hours, which is a normal shift, you all work 10 hours.
So when officer's called out and works 3 or 4 hours, does not apply. So, or called in, rather.
I'm sorry, I'm a little slow. Every time a shift starts between 1 p.m. and midnight and goes 10 hours, regardless of whether it's a scheduled shift or a call-out shift?
Yes, so any shift where an officer works a minimum of 10 hours and the shift starts after 1 p.m. or later, 2 p.m., 3 p.m., this is a incentive pay to cover, primarily the focus is on those officers working the 5 to 3 and the 9:30 to 7
I think what Karen's asking, and maybe I can clear it up for you. Regular scheduled shift is what we're talking about, I believe, because if I'm a detective and I get called in at 2:30 in the afternoon and I work for the next 12 hours and today was my day off, I'm gonna be receiving time and a half because it's my day off. I should
Okay.
receive time and a half and shift diff. Would we agree on
I
that?
get what you're saying.
Right.
So, yeah,
So for your regular shifts, what time do those shifts start?
sure. So we have a good mix, if you will. The day shift officers work 7 a.m. to 5:15 p.m.
Right,
And then you have the evening squad patrol, which is 5 p.m. to 3 a.m. And then you have a midnight squad, which starts at 9:30 and works till 7:30.
okay.
In
So,
addition to that, you have a hybrid work schedule with downtown Cape officers, And those work schedules are unique because of the environment that we work in. So we work a bizarre shift, if you will, but there will be some shifts that will apply, but not the whole work cycle for the downtown Cape units.
Okay, so on any given day, 2 out of the 3 shifts.
And then you factor in our traffic officers.
Mhm.
So, and they work kind of a hybrid schedule as well too. Sometimes they start at noon, sometimes they start at 5 in the evening.
So this would basically be everybody except the ones who are working day shift.
So the day shift officers, the swing shift officers, the general investigation detectives, the special investigations unit primarily focuses the 5 to 3 and the midnight officers,
Mm-hmm.
and a handful of shifts involving the downtown Cape.
Okay.
Downtown Cape is often tasked with working shifts like a 3 to 3. Sometimes you're called in earlier to assist with unpermitted events or events going on like the air show. So we fill that gap, and we put up with it. We come in and we work those extended shifts. So there would be some time from downtown Cape would fit those as well. And just to touch on some things, I believe you all are aware of the difficulties that this profession is alone. When you add the importance for this request at this time is to accommodate the officers who are primarily scheduled on those evening shifts, and they make sacrifices for their family. Officers in the membership that I've spoken to that relate to me, the importance behind requesting this is to accommodate them for their sacrifice to the city. They miss family events, they miss holidays, we signed up for this and we know that going into it, but a continuous environment that the family suffers too. So it's an accommodation, an incentive plan. It's a great recruitment tool. Over 50% of police departments in the state of Florida employ this benefit. Our surrounding agencies use it as a recruitment and benefit tool for their current officers. And we're seeking that same benefit for the men and women that work these shifts. There's some sergeants that have been working midnights for a continuous amount of time without relief. And so I'm looking to be the voice for them to get that benefit started. And we're open to dialogue with respect to the criteria for this as well.
Okay.
I just wanted to throw in there that back
Sure.
in my day when I worked a real police job, I did work the 5 p.m. to 3 a.m. shift, and I happened to be a single mom, and it was really a struggle, like really a struggle. And it was something beyond my control because I didn't have a say on what shift I worked, but I did it for about 4 years. And it was difficult. I missed everything, like everything. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Under Appendix D-H, Emergency Management Pay. There was just a slight change to that, and you'll see it highlighted in yellow at the bottom. And it states that if the declared period is during a holiday listed in Article 22, which we discussed earlier, employees will be compensated at the rate of triple time for all the hours worked. So if we're handling an emergency on a holiday, we would like to be compensated for the holiday falling on the day of that emergency, or that emergency happening to fall on the holiday.
To be clear, if we had an emergency on a holiday or on any day, the officers who are working are receiving double time now, correct?
This is the
For
result of
emergency
the
management?
agreements from a couple years ago. This is the one, it's already in an MOU, which is.
It's already, and so this is just memorializing the same way we did the holiday pay
Copy and paste, yes ma'am.
at double time and a half. If that holiday
Sorry.
on your regularly scheduled shift during the holiday, you would get the holiday pay for the shift plus double time for all hours worked.
Yeah, this is just taking into the negotiated that grievance from settlement from that grievance a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Language is straight from, and I
Yeah,
think it's.
right, this is similar to the other. I just wanted to be clear
Yeah.
that we're talking about all hours worked on the holiday that overlap. The
Yes.
overlapping hours.
Yeah, it's that ever rare circumstance where a emergency activation a local emergency activation may overlap with a recognized holiday in the contract.
Yeah.
Very rare.
Yeah.
Either a late hurricane or an early protest.
Okay.
All right, another easy one, I feel confident. The effective date update. This is putting specific language regarding the starting date, October 1st, 2025, with conclusion of September 30th, 2028, which time the contract will expire.
Alright,
And lastly, to incorporate the MOU for this, we already have in place, regarding the $2,500 payment for, I can touch on it.
go ahead.
Yeah, lastly, we just want to incorporate into the contract as well the 6-month lump sum incentive that the city brought to the agency and the membership as well in the contract. The language that still exists.
Yeah, I mean, we'll certainly give that some thought.
Sure.
We would have to consider that in conjunction with whatever wage proposals we
Yes, ma'am.
also have on the table. That was a midterm MOU that we were really struggling to get recruits in the door, and so we were offering a $2,500 lump sum after 6 months. And so, again, we can consider it, but we would have to consider it along with everything else.
Yeah, and it's kind of, it's been touted recently by some of the other area agencies that along with this lump sum, we eliminated that first step. And this was kind of taking the place of it, and it was a lesser dollar amount, but a lot of agencies around us, they can't beat us in starting pay, so they're attacking us everywhere else, and that is that they're giving that first 6-month step, whereas we don't offer that. So we would love for the city to consider the extension and kind of codification of that benefit this go round, because I think that it at least kind of gives us that counter to the other agencies that say, well, look, we give you a step in 6 months. Well, we give you cash. We don't want cash. So.
Yeah, we can certainly give it some thought. And just a reminder, at the first MOU, we did raise the starting pay by eliminating the first step and offered the lump sum. And then we came back after that, also midterm, and raised the starting pay again. So we've had 2 midterm increases to starting pay.
That's why I had to hire another labor rep. We've had all these contracts.
Look at all this.
But we do understand that it was truly necessary.
It was truly necessary. We understand that as well.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
We were reacting to a really unusual moment in time.
All right, we'll talk about Article 12 now. Was it 12?
OTA does drug policy. We have no changes to appendix E.
Okay.
Drug
Oh, did I
policy,
miss that?
unless the city does.
We fought over that for a couple of years. We can bring it back.
Oh, that's
Appendix
right.
E?
Oh, yeah.
No, let's not.
See that.
I concur.
All right, so we've done everything else except the wage stuff.
Yep.
So that brings us to Article 12, Appendix A and Appendix C. Are you distributing those as well, or just the scale?
Just
Okay.
Okay,
I'll let you have it.
so for the membership, we are proposing a 3-year contract with the pay scales are in your hands there. Year 1, 5% for all positions, officer, corporal, sergeant. Year 2, 5%, all positions, officer, corporal, and sergeant. In year 3, leaving it open with a wage reopener for any further discussion down the road. The new pay scales are there, and we're open to any discussion at this time. I imagine not, but if
Yeah, I think that we are going to hold off on discussion until we've had a time to review everything. But I think this is self-explanatory.
Sure.
Yeah.
5% over current in the first year, and then an additional 5%.
second year, yes.
And then a reopener on wages only is what you would be
Correct, on year 3.
considering
yes,
for
ma'am.
year 3. Okay.
And I would just like to add that those agencies around us that we are trying to remain competitive with are, once again, about to receive their increases or are negotiating for increases at this moment. I'm very proud. I brag all the time that Jacksonville Beach is the highest paid police agency in Northeast Florida. So I'm happy to brag about that. And I would love to continue to be able to do that. So I just wanted to remind you that, I think Atlantic Beach might be in negotiations, but that's not one of ours. So I don't know that for sure, but I think so. We just finalized a good contract with the airport. JSO is going to receive, I believe, another 7% this year. We're in talks with Neptune Beach right now. We're now representing Nassau County, and we're looking at a huge wage increase for them, hopefully, and then, you know, of course, all the other ones that we represent here locally. So I just wanted to make sure that we put it out there, that right now we are the leaders, and everyone else trying to be like Jacksonville Beach, which is something to be proud of. So I think that what we have brought today is, I don't think that it's too far out there, and I hope and pray that the city would just, you know, take into consideration what's happening around us and what we ended up having to do, you know, like you were saying, for the last 2 years, just to kind of remain, you know, in the runnings. So,
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that, I think we have shown over the past couple of years that, you know, we've been able to partner together and come to some really pretty quick solutions for some really immediate problems that we're dealing with. So I think that, and I want to thank you all for that as well. We're going to take everything back and give it some consideration and go through and run the numbers. I will tell you that pension is going to be a big hurdle for us. You've seen the most recent actuarial evaluation. The city's going to be contributing over $1 million in the upcoming year for the pension benefits, and that doesn't even realize all of the most recent changes that we've made to the increased staffing and the wage increases. They're not reflected in those numbers. So we have a responsibility to maintain a sustainable plan. And I do want to remind everyone that as we talk about being competitive with other agencies in terms of retirement benefits, a lot of those other agencies do not also participate in Social Security. We do. So not only is the city contributing an additional 6.2% to Social Security for our employees, but your employees also, your constituents also are. So I think when we start talking about increasing city's contribution or increasing employee contributions to cover additional benefits, that's a heavy lift for the employees as well as for the city. So again, we're going to take a look at everything and start crunching some numbers. And if you guys want to go ahead and schedule the next meeting, we would need a few weeks out. Sure. Because it's going to take us a little time to absorb. And I don't know what your schedule is. I have a vacation in April that we would have to schedule around. So for the next meeting, it will most likely be Ashley, Meg, Elise, and I.
Okay.
And Mike is probably going to drop off for the most part. But
You couldn't get him to stop talking today. So.
I know. So we would expect all 5 of you, if we're trying to schedule out.
I will be, David, JJ.
Yes, for now.
Okay. So do we want to try to find a date, or do we want to just wait until we?
It's probably better for me if we try to lock something in. How about you guys?
That usually works better for me.
Yeah,
Try to
let's
go ahead and
try,
just
yeah.
put something on the calendar.
I have a case headed to trial that I think is going to be continued, but I'm hoping that, let's just work within that idea, and if we have to change something, we can.
Okay. So you've given us a lot to think about, and we're going to need a few weeks. I'm on vacation the 3rd week in April. So I would say probably we're looking at the beginning of May.
As in the 1st or 2nd, you want to look at that first week.
First or second would actually work for me. I don't know about the
Perfect for me.
rest of the group.
I'm good.
May 1st. Okay. May 1st.
May 1st, well, we can, just stick to the 1st of the month and call it the 1st of every month, a standing meeting.
Yeah.
Good thing they're not all April Fool's Days.
Right.
Same time, 1:30?
May 1st at 1:30
Yep, that works for me.
works
Awesome.
for everybody?
I didn't realize.
You're on vacation.
No.
Well,
We'll live stream. You can sit back, enjoy an adult beverage, and watch.
there you go. May 1st at 1:30 it is, and of course, we have a little bit of time if we have conflicts, y'all just let us know.
Okay.
At least, would you mind sending out that invitation to the group?
No problem.
Do you have everybody's contact information in the
I
room?
do, except for maybe,
Mark.
I'll get going.
Yeah, and that will not be a conflict with my trial either, so
Oh,
I
good.
don't have to worry about that.
Good.
I think that's it.
All right then.
I just want to say thank you for hosting us and thank you for accommodating me. It's a new role for me, so I appreciate being easy on this.
And congratulations.
It's fun sitting back on this side.
Take some of the pressure off.
I'm just the delivery boy for,
The cameraman.
Yeah.